Today we're going to do Trigonometry Lesson 2, Trigonometric Ratios on a Calculator and Patterns in Trigonometric Ratios. It's found on page 207 in your workbook. I call it How to Use Your Calculator for Trig Ratios. So we're going to jump to the top of page 207 is just a review for the trig functions for SOHCAHTOA. At the bottom we have class example 1a. And it says, use a calculator to determine the value of each trig ratio to 4 decimal places. There are 2 ways your calculator can work, depending on your calculator, so you have to know your calculator. Most calculators, you can just press your sign button and type in 35 inside the bracket. You should get 0.5736 as your answer. 2 things can happen. One thing is that you have to look very carefully on the screen. On the screen, on your calculator, it should say either DEG someplace, really small, or just a D. That means degrees. That's what you want. If it says GRAD or G, it's gradians. RAD or R is radians. We don't want those. Those are other means to measure angles. Right now we're just using degrees. This little circle here means it's in degrees. So your calculator needs to be in degrees. So if you aren't sure on how to change that, there's usually some sort of like D or G button that you can press to change that. You might have to go into a mode and change the mode. The other thing is sometimes people have an older calculator and then you have to enter it backwards. So you might have to enter 35, make sure it's in degrees, and then sign, and that will give your answer of 0.736. You really need to learn how to use your calculator. Okay, so let's try number 2, or 1A2, cos 35. The answer for that is 0.8192. Remember, we have to round up to the last digit. Okay, so let's go over to page 211. Question 5, way at the bottom. It states, in each case, determine the measure of the acute angle to the nearest degree. A says sine A equals 0.3584. A equals something. To do this, we need to use the inverse function. So my question is sine A equals 0.3584. I need to take the inverse of sine, so it's written as sine to the negative 1. Sine to the negative 1 times 3.58. So A, the angle A, equals the inverse of sine of your number. To get this part on your calculator, usually it's either shift or second function. And then you press your sign button. So make sure it's in degrees. So A degrees should equal 21. Again, if you're not getting the 21 degrees, double check, make sure it is in degrees, your calculator is in degrees. Or perhaps you have to enter it backwards because you have an older calculator. In that case, you need to type in the number first, and then your shift key, and then your sign key. Okay, let's try C. So for this one, use your calculator. So second function tan, 3.2106. I get 72.7. Remember, if you have to enter the number first, shift, then possibly tan. depending on your calculator. We need to round this to a degree, so it is at 73 degrees.